Hello and welcome back to another episode of Respawn Radio with your host Paul
and Raphi.
And today we're going to be talking about a TV show.
Yep.
I don't know why that was a discussion. We already know what we're going to talk about.
We planned this well ahead.
Well and truly ahead. Rick and Morty, specifically season 1, we considered like doing all the seasons already out, just sort of in one go. But
the season changed quite a lot as they go along. So what we'll do is we'll start off with season 1. We'll eventually do season 2 and 3, and then when they bring out season 4, 5, 8, 20, I don't think they will because the community is shit. And if you're a fan of Rick and Morty, you're a piece of shit. That includes us too.
Well, yeah. But, I mean, it was all right for the first 2 years that it came out because it was relatively underground.
Yeah.
And then as soon as
season 2 came out and it hit like mainstream sort of.
I don't even really think it was until season 3. Because as soon as...
It was season 3 that everyone started going crazy at them.
Oh, God.
Because do you remember how like people were pissing about saying like, we want season 3 now?
Yeah.
And like people were going crazy and like...
they fucking ruined it, basically. It's quite a genuinely funny and very clever creative show that just got memed into cringe culture.
Yeah. No, I don't think it was even art. It's just how toxic the fans were. Like I said, they're all pieces of shit.
Is toxic just like a big label you slap on people we also used to call cunts?
The fans are cunts.
They are cunts.
They're fucking cunt. Well, let's get away from the fans and their cuntish nature.
So the first season came out, or technically it premiered in the end of 2013.
Yeah, I think like December 2nd.
With the pilot episode, but then it sort of continued into 2014. Looking back on it now, the pilot episode was really like off. Like, Rick's character wasn't developed yet.
He's certainly gotten a lot better. Originally, in the pilot episode, he's very... I don't want to say drunk, but he doesn't seem smart.
There's parts where he's talking to Morty, and when Morty starts going off on a rant, Rick's just standing there dazed and confused with drool dripping from his mouth like a retard.
He just kind of looks blank and like just weird. But
as you go on quite quickly, even into the first season, he's like a well-developed kind of cold-hearted nihilist of a character.
It's by like literally by the second episode with Crazy Terry.
Crazy Terry, Scary Terry.
Scary Terry. I don't know why I said Crazy Terry. I think I was just taking a Terry Crews there for a sec. with Scary Terry, where they're in the dream world.
Yeah.
And Rick comes up with quite solid plans to escape, and he's kind of talking Morty through everything, and he starts to show how smart he is.
Yeah.
And then as this like episodes go on and seasons go on, I mean, you get to like season 3 where he's basically like powered Doctor Who.
Yeah, he's basically a god.
Essentially, yeah, he actually says he's a god compared to everyone else. But yeah, in the first episode, like, they didn't really know, like, they knew he was smart, like an inventor, but they were really heavily leaning towards like a...
I think you were about to say about the whole Doc from Back to the Future thing.
I think they actually got the idea from Rick and Morty off sort of Marty McFly and Doc Brown, sort of them two going off and
with him going, Morty! And then they changed that to Morty. Yeah. But no, I think you're right. You can actually find sort of like behind the scenes making of Rick and Morty, where there's basically the same sort of style animation as they have in the show, but for parodies of Back to the Future they did, where it was Marty and he looks like Morty, but he's wearing the red thing. So it is actually basically a parody of that sort of became its own thing.
It takes it a little bit further.
a little bit further.
So
if you took Doc Brown and mixed him with Doctor Who...
You'd have Rick and Morty as long as you feed him like a massive alcoholic who's basically got a god complex.
Yeah.
But no, he doesn't really show sort of how smart he is. I mean, it's still like certain elements there, like later on in the episode where they're fighting against the government.
He
probably says
the bug people.
Yeah, and he says one of the funniest lines that perfectly sets up Rick and Morty for the next how many years they're going to do it.
I think I know what you mean.
And he's like, you can shoot them, Morty. It's okay. They're not real people. Like, they're not real. They're just robots, Morty. Robots. And so he starts shooting them and he starts bleeding and he goes like,
Rick, he's bleeding.
Yeah, I thought you said they were good. He's like, they're very bureaucrats, Morty. Like, I don't respect them as real people. It's just brilliant. And they kind of just sort of like dumb luck their way out of that situation.
Yeah.
And like, if you compare that sort of Rick, that pilot that they brought out, to the one where, you know, after he gets caught at the end of season 2, this is moving on way into the future, but just to show his sort of progression, when he escapes and he destroys everything and resets everything, and like it really shows like how much of a character they changed from.
He's always pilot. One step ahead.
He's reacting rather than taking control of the situation.
Yeah. So they basically they have like 10 episodes per season. Technically, 11 in this first season because they count the pilot as an episode, unlike us on our show where we put the pilot as episode 0. Like, we didn't even count it really. But in season 2 and 3 they have 10 episodes.
Yeah.
So it's 11 for the first season, 10 episodes for the other 2.
Well, traditionally pilots are simply there to get you a taste of the show, and the more for producers and studios to say, look, this is the show we want to do, this is how many views it's attracted, the audience like this, can we make more? And they go, sure.
But what is Justin Roiland's, like, he's the one who made it.
Yeah.
He's the one who does the voice for both Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
What has he done before this, though, that he could pull, like, a full 11-episode first season with Adult Swim?
Well, to be fair, he mostly did voice work. I believe he was in Adventure Time.
Oh, yeah, he played as Lemon Grab, didn't he?
Yeah.
Unacceptable! All his characters, they only have, like, 2 different tones. And it's all like an offshot of how Morty sounds.
So the dad, what's his name now?
Jerry.
Jerry.
So Morty, the relationship between Rick and Morty is that he's his granddad.
Yeah.
And I guess he was kind of like a distant father to the mother because
it's established that he's very recently come back into their lives, and he's been absent for pretty much Beth's entire life. Like, he was there when she was like a baby, and then it's not really stated outright, but something happened with his wife. I don't know whether they split up.
In season 3, they did like a joke of what happened, but we don't actually know what happened.
But for the first season, all we know is that he wasn't present throughout most of life, and he's very recently come back in. So he's staying at the house. He's kind of overtaken Jerry as sort of like the household man.
He's trying to establish dominance. That's the whole point. Like, Jerry, the character Jerry, when you first start off watching it, you just think, oh God, he's that prick character.
Yeah.
But then he slowly becomes like, it's very clear that he's Morty's dad because he's a moron himself.
Interestingly, Jerry was going to be like a really like all together there kind of character who had his life going for him, and he was apparently meant to be like a really successful businessman. And that
was the original plan,
That was the original plan. What happened is the voice actor, Chris Parnell, who does him, he did a take with him where he did his voice, and they just thought he sounded so pathetic that they changed his entire character to suit him and the way he did it. So from then on, he was going to be like this sort of soppy guy who was failing at his job, who eventually at the end of the season loses his job.
He's kind of like Homer Simpson with a little bit more self-awareness. Just a little bit more self-awareness.
He's not as stupid as Homer Simpson.
He's not as lovable as Homer Simpson either.
He's not lovable. He's basically like a coward.
Yeah.
The best way is...
And it's funny that because he's in essentially what's a failing marriage as well. Because Rick's daughter Beth doesn't really want to be with him. The only reason they're together is because he got her pregnant when they were teenagers.
There's an episode later on where it's like a what if episode, and it's done really well. It's done through the like watching TV. Yeah, so basically Rick hijacks the TV and he goes like Interstellar television network or something like that.
He puts his little device on it that allows him to watch TV from alternate realities.
Essentially, yeah. And there's one where it's Jerry and he's like a very successful like actor.
He's an actor, yeah. And Beth's a certified human surgeon as opposed to the horse surgeon that she is in the show.
Which she hates. Like, she hates her job, but she'll never admit it. She always wanted to be a real doctor.
She's envious of the fact that she'd never managed to quite get onto humans.
Yeah, so in that episode, it does stay that the only reason they were ever together was because like she fell pregnant. But
that's so funny. I feel bad for the daughter, Summer, because she's like looking through all these different realities, and in most of them she doesn't exist.
Yeah, and she only exists in this
because they went through with the abortion.
Yeah, and it's like their life would have been so much better without her. Like, there's one where, I mean, it comes to the conclusion because at the end of watching that episode, when they're watching it, like, Jerry goes to find Beth and he's like on a high. So it's meant to
tell you what, like it's a dumb show and it's funny, but I don't want. It didn't make me cry or anything, but it made me think, oh, that's
the thing. This
genuinely
season,
kind of sweet because it shows that even in a reality where they were separate and they lived out, to their full abilities, they weren't truly happy because they were never together.
There's a lot of like themes going on in the first season. Well, throughout the entirety of it.
It's very anti-government.
It's very anti-government. It's very self-aware. It deals with sort of morality and existence because Rick is of a belief that everything is pointless and nothing's worth doing.
Well, he's a nihilist, isn't he? He's seen absolutely everything, all different possibilities. There's an episode that really shines through with that hit, the way he sees the world, because there's an episode about halfway through the series. we've had a few episodes to establish characters, we've had a few mini adventures, and there's one episode just changes everything, but the show carries on as if nothing ever happened. Basically, Rick, he basically destroys the whole world because
he destroys the universe. Yeah.
And then he just takes him and Morty, and I don't know why that specific Morty is important to him, but I guess it's because it's the one from his original universe. And he relocates to another universe where he managed to fix the issue, but the version of him and Morty died, so they take their place.
Yeah, and then they bury them in the back garden. Yeah. And this is where it becomes really self-aware. And I just love it that it all started off because Morty was horny and he wanted his girl to like him, so he made Rick make him like a love potion. And then he sprays it everywhere.
A roofie potion, as he deemed it.
Because there was a flu going around, it changed the compound, and then anyone who caught it just became like obsessed with Morty, and then it became even worse because they tried to fix it.
It's so dumb. It's just like I'm going to create this potion, but just make sure you don't, that whoever has it doesn't have the flu or something. And he goes to a dance literally called the flu season dance, where everything is like colour themed as snot and stuff, and it's so retarded.
But it does show, but the underlying theme of that entire episode is the fact that Rick doesn't care about the entire universe because there's always another one spare in the background somewhere.
Even though that's his actual daughter that he had in that world. I guess it's...
And he doesn't care about her because he has another one in another universe that he can replace. It really goes to show sort of... Because if you even compare that to the Rick that was in the first pilot episode, it's completely different.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't really count the pilot episode as part of the main...
I do.
I don't know, because he acts too different. He acts so odd and off and just not like his character at all. Everyone else is fine. Well, except for maybe Jerry. Jerry's even a little bit more assertive than I would like in that first pilot episode. Because he becomes so pathetic the further you get into the show. And Summer really isn't established much in that one at all.
Summer isn't established at all in this first season. She's such a background character. She has a lot more to do in the late seasons, which we'll talk about, but for this one, it just doesn't.
So it's the kind of show where, like in The Simpsons, each episode is standalone. You don't really need to have watched it. Well, Rick and Morty kind of wants to have its cake and eat it, because it is one of those shows where you can watch any episode in any order, really. But there are also ongoing
themes and
ongoing lore. Like we said, like with the bit where he goes into another world and he's buried himself in that world, the dead version. That comes back later.
Yeah, there are things that will come back to haunt them later on, and there's sort of like... They'll introduce characters, and then they'll come back later on as well.
I think that was probably the most major thing that you can say, honestly. The fact that he went to another universe.
Yeah, okay. I don't think it's ever going to get bigger than that.
The titles of each episode are kind of like... They're so lazy and hilariously lazy. They're kind of like puns.
A bit like ours. Ours are just hilariously just picked up from shit we say during
We name
episode.
Our show episodes based on something that one of us has said, most of the time you.
Yeah, okay.
So the first episode is pilot because fuck it, all pilot episodes are just called pilot, I think.
Normally, I don't think any of them.
So we've got the first real episode 2, is called Lawnmower Dog. Do you know what that's a pun of, really?
Go ahead.
Well, there was a movie called Lawnmower Man, which was basically about like this, I want to say retarded, but a educationally subnormal. What do you say?
A Rick and Morty fan.
Mentally disabled.
A Rick and Morty
there was a
fan.
Rick and Morty fan.
Yeah.
And this guy did a science experiment on him to make him more and more intelligent.
Okay.
And he basically got to the point where he was so intelligent that he managed to awaken telekinesis powers and then just became ethereal.
Well, I'm going to have to watch it.
So that's why it's called that. I quite like that episode.
Everyone loves that episode. It's I wouldn't say it's my least favourite, but it's kind of one of those episodes I don't really care if I watch it or not.
And it is surprising that dog hasn't come back into it.
Snowball.
Well, he's called Snuffles, but
he's gone, isn't he?
All they did was go to another world, not necessarily another universe. They just went to another planet, as far as we know. They just went to a world where they could inhabit. So basically, Rick creates this little device that makes the dog more intelligent because Jerry's sick and tired of it pissing on the carpet. So he goes, "Can you do something to make this dog not piss on the carpet?" So it basically endows him with sentience, and he gets more and more intelligent because he puts more batteries into the house.
Essentially, yeah.
and then
he edits his little techno thing, and Rick knows this is a bad idea after he's getting.
Rick don't give a shit though.
He doesn't give a shit, but he is like, yeah, this isn't going to come back to bite you.
He goes, fine. If this is what it takes for you to just let me take Morty on my mad adventures, I'll just fucking do it for you.
Yeah, because he wouldn't let him do it at the start. He goes like, Morty needs to go to school and all that shit, and Rick's like, you don't need to go to school. School's for pussies and weirdos and all that shit.
Dumbasses.
Because that's the whole reason why they were going into his teacher's mind, was to give Morty an A.
Just so he can get less time out of school to go on more mad adventures.
They go into his mind, they go into his dream, and he's on a plane.
Yeah.
And Morty's like, what are we going to do? And Rick's like, I've got an idea. He straps a load of hot dogs to his chest, and he's like, I've got a bomb. Like,
there's not a hot dog. He strapped a load of Coke bottles to him.
And then Rick's just screaming, Allah Akbar. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
But yeah, so...
Although it's kind of like that episode with the Gazorpazort planet that comes in a few episodes later, where he goes, Summer, put your burqa on. And they're on that planet with the big monsters that want to rape all the women.
There were loads of risky episodes, actually.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's stick to this one.
Okay, so he drastically underestimates how strong this guy is within his own dreams.
He starts panicking in his dreams. Everyone starts panicking. So he knocks out somebody else with his shield.
Yeah, and he goes into their dream. So the dream within a dream. And that just keeps happening until it gets to a dead end. And then they end up in a place that looks like it's from a horror movie, and it's got like I think they joke about it, they go, oh, it looks like some kind of legally safe knockoff of some 80s horror character.
Yeah, and
who has little swords for fingers instead of knives.
Yeah, they really take the piss out of it.
Of Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, it's Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
And he's got like balls.
I'm Scary Terry, bitch.
So they hide,
yes,
and then you see him like opening up like dustbin pans, and like he can't find them. And he gets tired, so he goes home. Rick goes, right, after he's had tea and he's had some scary coitus. We'll incept him.
Yeah.
So you see him sleeping, and he's having this dream where he's in scary school, and it's like he doesn't have his pants. Yeah. And then Rick comes out of nowhere, and he's like, "Don't worry, we got your back." And Morty's like, "You don't have to worry about pants no more." So he wakes up, and they're there, and
all of a sudden he doesn't want to kill him anymore, even though it was only a dream.
Yeah.
For him.
Yeah, exactly. They hitch a ride on him.
Scary Terry has the ability to travel through dreams, so he just takes him back, killing everyone whose dream they've been in until he gets back. and he turns himself into a rocket.
And then he goes like, "This is because you don't give Morty straight A's." And like, it blows up.
It's so dumb.
And then so the teacher wakes up and goes, "Whoa." So they do all that, and they're really proud of themselves. But then once they get back to like their home, they realise that the world's just gotten fucked because of
the dogs.
Yeah, because of the dogs. The dogs essentially taken over. But Snowball has like an attachment
to
Morty.
But it's cool though. It's like they don't just have two separate stories. They always find in a way to blend the stories together in the end.
Yeah.
Because he uses the Dream Inceptor on the dog to
make it seem like Morty has like liver damage, and that is.
Yeah, but they basically put the idea in his head of things can only get worse and worse on his conquest, and then he goes back on the idea, and that's when they decide to fuck off to a new dimension of their own.
Essentially, yeah. Yeah,
but
it was a good end to the episode.
The next one is
Anatomy Park.
It's
kind of like a Christmas special.
Oh, it's obviously a parody of Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
Anatomy Park.
It is brilliant. It's got basically there's this homeless man that Rick is just.
He's called Ruben.
He's called Ruben, and he.
We're going to go and save Ruben? What, Ruben, Minnesota? No, Ruben on a table, Morty.
Basically, he's got an entire theme park in his body, and it's like Rick, like adventure that he wanted to do. He always wanted to have like this theme park, and he's got what is it? Pirates
of the Pancreas, and no one liked it, and he goes, well, it doesn't make any sense, and he's just like, what do pirates do? It's got nothing to do with the pancreas.
But he's like, that's my baby, Morty. That's sorry if I'm a little bit testy about that, but
who's the guy who does the voice of the character that's a parody of John Hammond?
Yeah, it's what's his name?
He's the one in Community.
Yeah, he's the English guy with
John Oliver.
John Oliver. He is fucking hilarious. I love John Oliver.
I've only ever really seen him. I don't really like his show, but I like him in Community, and yeah, he is quite funny. And he really, you can tell he just really loves playing all the cameos they have in this show. Love it.
They're all fun.
Do you know the guy who does the voice of the devil in the episode?
Yeah.
It's Alfred Molina. Is that his name? Alfred Molina? The one who Dr. Octopus in Spider-Man 2.
Oh, yeah? Really?
Yeah, he's the one who does the voice of the devil in Rick and Morty.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's a good...
Yeah. I recognised it immediately, and I think it's because he does a lot more voice acting stuff these days, actually.
Yeah, so in the Anatomy Park, Basically, the story is that Ruben dies, and they can't keep him alive. His body's got full of diseases, like
that's the whole point.
Everything, yeah.
He's a homeless guy, and they make like a theme park based on all the different kinds of. The whole thing is, like we say, it's a parody of Jurassic Park. So obviously, it all goes wrong. The exhibits escape.
Yeah,
and it's like, it's hepatitis B, and it's a giant fucking yellow monster.
It's brilliant.
And one of the guys who's part of the team is trying to smuggle out bubonic plague. And he's the one who basically fucked up the park and compromised everything.
Yeah, and he dies later on in the episode as well. But
all of them die except from Morty, the blonde girl, and Rick doesn't go in, does he? He's on the outside.
No, the girl in it, obviously Morty fancies because he's like a horny 12-year-old kid or 14 or however old he is.
I'm 14. He said I was 12. Okay. Because he said I was 12. Good for you.
He does finally get with her though.
He does, yeah. But then as soon as he does, Rick fucking takes her away from him.
Yeah, but it's got one of the best lines in this episode. It's when he's making out with her. And Rick's like, obviously, you need to get out of the body because it's like releasing gas and you've only got so long before it like explodes something. And they make the body really big for some reason. I can't remember why.
It's because they can't get out in time to get big themselves.
Right.
So they make him big so they're normal size.
Right.
So he shoots Ruben, the dead body of the homeless guy, into space, makes him massive. So he's like floating.
You see the
he's like covering up the entirety of America, and they're just like, there's a big nose in this part of America. You can see his toes in this part of America. He goes, well, I wonder what's happening in the Rocky Mountains. You just see a shadow, a giant cock, just like.
Anyway, Morty's getting off with this girl, and Rick's like, the only way you can get out, Morty, is to get to the left nipple. Try get to the left nipple, Morty. And Morty's like, well, I've been trying to get to both.
I love that. It's just
brilliant.
So anyway, meanwhile, it's like a mini episode going on during this episode because, like you said, it was a Christmas one. Jerry's got his parents round, and they've got like they've got like a third person involved in their relationship, and like his dad is actually like a cuckold who likes to watch from inside a cupboard.
Dressed as Superman,
watching this guy called Jacob fuck his wife.
Jerry's mum. Jacob looks like he's in his 30s. Jerry's mum's obviously like in her 80s, and it's just weird. And he's like, everyone around him knows what's going on, but they're all just okay with it, like in quotation marks.
But he wanted like a family holiday. He takes everyone's phones away from him and goes, we're going to have a family holiday. So they start having a family holiday, and by the end of it, he's the only one who wishes he fucking had his phone back.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's like it's trying to teach you about acceptance, but it doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I think that's the aim, but it's also kind of just like a big fuck you.
This season, pretty much, it does everything it can do to fuck over Jerry. Like, to really... I mean, if you watch the next episode...
M. Night Shyamalan,
which basically...
Shyamalan.
This one shows how smart Rick is, because A, it tells you, and B, it shows you just how like smart he actually... Because he out-tricks everyone in this entire episode by the end of it. He created something. I can't remember what it was. He's got some...
Concentrated dark matter.
That's it. They want the formula for the concentrated dark matter.
Well, the episode starts off and he's inside a simulation of his homeworld.
But we don't know. It starts off with Morty inside.
Well, him and Morty. But Rick suspects that Morty is part of the simulation when he's not.
Yeah.
And for some reason, Jerry's also in the simulation. They picked him up by accident.
By accident, yeah. And like sitting like... It's a really funny moment where they're like, well, whose fault is it? And he's like... Well, we didn't ask for it, and like we should be requesting. And
we only do what that department say, and that department only do what they do.
So he gets, well, I guess no one's at fault here, and he's not really there. And it's just like, if you've ever worked in an office where like so many people blame each other, and it's just like, well, obviously no one is at fault then, and the problem isn't actually a problem. And it just, they got that so spot on. Anyway, there's a simulation, and they're trying to get the dark matter sort of. Or concentrated dark matter recipe from Rick. So they put him in a simulation, try and trick him.
Yeah.
But
he's onto it immediately.
He's onto it immediately, but they're trying to get Morty to reveal the code as well, because he's at school, and he's like, the teacher's like, so does anybody know the thingy for dark matter? And like, goes like, Morty, do you know it? And he's like, obviously he doesn't, because he's a moron.
And do you know who does the voice for the main guy on this one? It's another cameo.
Good.
David Cross does the voice of the main alien in this one. And he's got such a comedic voice as well. I don't know if he does more voice actor stuff, but the only movie that comes to mind that I know that he's been in for a fact is Small Soldiers, because it's the first film I ever saw him in.
I love Small Soldiers, to be fair.
Tommy Lee Jones with Major Chip Hazard.
It's probably shit if I rewatched it now, so I don't want to.
What?
Small Soldiers. I reckon if I watched it now, it'd be crap.
Oh, yeah.
But, as a kid.
I really want to see The Page Master again, but I've got a feeling it's going to be garbage.
Yeah. Anyway, back to...
Nostalgia is a bitch.
It really is. And back to Rick and Morty. So, Jerry's there as well, because Joe's having this whole thing where he's been picked up by accident. No one knows why.
Yeah, and it's never explained why.
Basically, what they're planning to do with him is like we'll just put the processing power where Jerry is at like 5% and just let it run.
Yeah, we're going to concentrate all of the power of the simulation on Rick and Morty, because that's what... So Jerry's half of things start lagging and
just fucking up and glitching and everything.
It shows how dumb he is, because...
He doesn't pick up on it.
He doesn't notice anything.
He gets, in this world, he gets like a promotion, and it's something like Got Apples, something like that. It's like a rip-off of Got Milk. Which he knows it is. Anyway, he goes back to the real world, and I think it's in the post-credit scene where he goes up to his boss and he's like...
He does the same pitch, and they're just like, you're fired.
Yeah, he's like, you're fired. And then he basically becomes jobless. From there, they just fuck up Jerry just as much as possible.
It just goes down and down. It's funny that, like, the best... It's like he literally has the best day of his life, and it's all just fictional.
Yeah, exactly. Rick tricks them. He gives them, like, a fake code. And they're like, haha, it was all a simulation.
So it was a simulation within a simulation, because they basically said, we want the dark matter, something happened, they went into the simulation within the simulation. It was like, actually what we need is a code to your thing. And he goes, okay, so they got that, and he goes, no, actually what we needed was a dark matter all along. Anyway, the point is, they think they get the ingredients, but Rick's actually given them
like self-destruct
ingredients to a giant bomb that blows up their spaceship.
And then... Okay, so we kind of just get him like, that's probably, the first 3 or 4 episodes that we've spoken about.
Yeah. So episode 5 is one called Me Seeks and Destroy. Mm-hmm. This episode starts off with Jerry not being able to do simple fucking household tasks opening a jar.
Yeah, so basically he can't do anything. And so he goes, right, use this, be careful with it.
So Rick has this little device that when you press the button on it, a little handy helper comes out called Mr. Meeseeks. And you tell him whatever you want to do, and once they've done the task, poof, they're gone. And they only live to do your task. They don't want to live. They hate living.
Yeah, living is pain for these guys.
So Jerry's such a fucking idiot. He can't open a jar. He gets them to open a jar, and he goes, okay, well, I wonder what else they can help us do. So Beth and Summer come up with a couple of tasks that you would expect are going to be like impossible for them to fulfill. And Jerry comes up with a task that should be relatively easy. Take a couple of strokes off my golf game. The Meeseeks uses the Meeseeks box
to try and get
another Meeseeks to assist until there's like a zillion of them, and none of them can go because none of them have completed their task.
So there's there's loads and loads of Mr. Meeseeks.
It's just like, wait, he's never going to complete the task. So what are we going to do? We'll have to kill Jerry.
Yeah. We will knock all strokes off his game. It's brilliant. So they start hunting him down. I don't know how, but they managed to get locked in a freezer in like some sort of
because they're in a restaurant and the Meeseeks just come chasing after him.
They're locked in a whatever, and he has to get this, I think it's like an onion in a cup. And he managed to do it by playing a game of golf, essentially, so they all disappear.
But meanwhile, in that episode, Rick and Morty are on their own little adventure, as they always are.
Yeah.
But Morty's like, we're going on a Morty adventure. I'm sick of your adventures.
It's something that I want to do.
They always end up with me nearly getting killed, so we're going to go on a Morty adventure.
But all the way through it, Rick is just complaining.
He's like, because whenever things do go wrong, he's just like, oh, wow, what a great adventure, Morty. Ooh, I hope this is going the way you thought it was. And they end up, basically, it's a Jack and the Beanstalk kind of piss take. They go to a world of giants. It gets very dark very quickly on the way home.
Basically, they're in like a pub or something.
So they're on the way down the stairs back to the normal world, and there's like a little pub on one of the stairs, and it's just inhabited by people that look like mini stairs with legs and arms.
Yeah,
and jelly bean people.
Morty goes to the toilets, and then while he's in the toilets, he's talking to this sort of jelly bean type person.
He gives him like a little bit of a pep talk.
And so he's like, look, it could be worse, all that. So Morty's like, yeah, you're right. And then the jelly bean tries to rape Morty, full on.
Like proper violent.
Yeah, like it's not easy to watch. Like it's quite horrific.
Like, I was watching it, I was like, what the fuck is happening?
And then, so he manages to fight him off. I think
he kicks the shit out of him. He's all fucked up and he's got black eyes and he's bleeding green blood. Yeah.
Morty leaves the toilets and he goes to Rick and is like, let's go. And Rick kind of gives him a little bit of grief but realises he's upset. So he's like, all right, okay, we'll go.
He's proper traumatised by it.
Like he sees the jelly bean.
He's all fucked up and he gives in the eye like, you fucking bastard.
He's like, you Rick and Morty fan. They leave. And they get back to the village, and they're all like, oh, thank you. Like, we've got our king here to award you, whatever. And it turns out it's the jelly man that basically tried to rape Morty.
And he's just like, no, we got to go now.
Yep. So Rick creates a portal, and Morty steps through, and as Rick goes to step through, he turns on and shoots the king.
It's the best revenge kill I've ever seen.
It is brilliant.
The episode after that, Rick Potion 9, we basically covered. He tries to make a love potion because he really fancies this girl. They go to the prom, and then Rick fucks up the world because the potion basically has negative side effects on everyone around him. First of all, everyone wants to fuck Morty, not just the girl that he intended for it to work
with. But everyone wants to.
Everyone, because it all spreads through the cold that they all have.
We've already spoken about all this.
Yeah. So he tries to create a remedy for it, and it just basically mutates everyone into monsters. So that's when they fuck off. That's when they replace the dead Rick and Morty in the other world.
Yeah.
The next one, they go to...
Yeah, basically, so they go to like a pawn shop, and Rick tries to buy something, he doesn't buy anything, and Morty sees like a sex robot thing, and he's like, well, I guess the kid wants this. So he buys the sex robot, and then for like a week straight, it's like a week later, all Morty has done is just had sex with this robot thing. And like you can hear him upstairs like banging away, and everyone like downstairs is having a meal, and like Jerry's pissed off at Rick for buying him a sex toy.
It turns out it's an incubation robot.
Essentially, yeah. And
for a species that is basically no longer has males in its society, they're all kind of rabid and females rule the place.
Well, they use the males as a way to reproduce, but that's all they use.
Yeah, they're kind of like dumb creatures
relegated to.
But they're also really violent as well, so they keep them in the wild. So this baby is like half that species, Gazorpazorp. No fucking idea what that's supposed to mean. It's just like, and there are a lot of creatures in this that are just like gibberish names, aren't they?
Like half-assed names, but kind of good as well.
Yeah.
Like a Gazorpazorp. Everything they name is actually quite weird, but...
So it's half Gazorpazorp, half human, because Morty's technically the dad, but it ages really quickly. So he's like trying to be a dad at home. Meanwhile, Summer and Rick go to the home planet to see whether or not they're willing to take the baby back.
And they don't. Basically, it's really weird. So they're all about women empowerment and like women on top, and Rick actually does throw it on their face and like turns around and says why men are ultimately better than women.
Yeah, and he does a big old fart, and they're just like, he made the noise that shan't be named because it does not exist.
Yeah, and it's like every time they greet each other, it's like they greet each other like, that is a nice top. That is a nice top.
I love the fact that it's kind of like, it's shouting women empowerment, but they're kind of also they're having a poke at themselves at the same time.
Takes a piss out
because they're just like their thing was years ago during the Great Passive Aggression.
And then they have something else where it's like, you are going to be punished now and by silent treatment. It's like
it's such a girl thing.
Yeah, it's brilliant. But Rick turns it around completely on them, and basically he goes off on one saying why men are better.
At the end of it, they managed to talk the monster that's growing way too fast for its own good out of destroying the entire world.
Yeah, essentially. He's like, basically, Morty tricks him by saying, if you ever go outside, like, you're going to die.
There's poison gas.
Yeah, there's poison gas outside. So he eventually, he gets so pissed off, and he's like, I would rather die than spend another day in here with you.
And gets out and he's like, my life is a lie.
And like, he runs off, and he's got like hair under his arms, so he's obviously hit puberty in like a day. So he goes around and he starts like breaking shit, and he's like... And then the Morty gives like a big like inspirational speech, basically going like, "You're maybe half Gazorpazorp, but you're also half human," and it's just really funny. And he gets like a weird job or something in like.
If you wait till the end of the credits, there's a bit where it's just like he's on telly and he's released a book and it's called My Horrible Father, and like he's just sitting there watching telly, and the mum and the Beth Morty's mum is just like, "It's a thankless job. You did your best."
It's brilliant. Yeah, so basically the next episode after the raising Gazorpazorp is Rick's 10 minutes, which obviously is 60 minutes.
Yeah.
Basically, they're all watching TV, and the entire episode is just watching TV.
A lot of it's improvised.
Nothing else. Yeah, it's all improvised. Basically, what he did was he improvised it all, and then they did all the like drawings afterwards. So he's like an advertisement for a film that's coming out, like two brothers in a van. And they're running away.
And there's a Mexican armada.
And grandmas.
And giant cats. And there's a tornado. And it's two brothers. And then it's two brothers.
And it's two brothers.
It's just two brothers.
It carries on for like 5 minutes.
And then it ends with him laughing. And you know that's just like him laughing in the audio booth. And they just say, fuck it, we'll just use this for the show.
Yeah.
But we've basically already talked about that one. It's the episode where Jerry sees himself as an actual successful person. Episode 9 is that episode I mentioned that has the guest spot Alfred Molina, who plays as the devil.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. That's really creative, this episode. He basically runs a store.
I love this episode.
That has cursed objects.
And it'd be stuff like, oh, you can have these shoes and they make you run really quickly, but then you'll be in a wheelchair or something like that.
It's like, there's like makeup that makes ugly women pretty, but then they become blind.
Yes, just like Catch-22 evil things.
And it's Summer's first job, and he's the boss. And then, like, I can't remember why Rick goes there, but he is onto his sort of shenanigans immediately.
That he's the devil.
And he's so smart that he comes up with like a fix for all of these cursed objects.
And he's like, he managed to scan each item, and he's in his own shop next door. And he only does it because he's bored. Because he destroys his entire shop.
He does it to basically prove that he's smarter.
Yeah, than the devil.
He does it for no other reason. Because
Because apparently he's making a killing from it as well. He just goes like, right, bored now, and he sets the entire shop ablaze.
I love the fact that
walks out.
You've got to bear in mind that means there's tons of still other people that have got the cursed objects that never get the fix for him.
Yeah, and he's just like, right, I can't be asked anymore, like I'm done. And then Summer helps the devil come back on top and like set up a new like shop essentially, like .com or something like that. He becomes Steve Jobs.
Well, he makes a joke. He goes, "I Mark Zuckerberg, you fuck you," and it's just like, and she basically takes over the business.
So Rick and Summer then like go to the gym, work out, and start beating the shit out. It's
that's
really
the
funny.
solution. Just get really buff, like ridiculously, unbelievably buff, and just kick the shit out of him.
It is like Rick can make anything and like sort him out, but no,
all the things.
The things he can ever do.
He didn't create a potion to get buff. They worked out the hard way,
solidly, and like become like Arnold Schwarzenegger and just absolutely beat the shit out of him when he's giving a presentation. It's just brilliant. While this is going on now, I think Morty's got like a school assignment for the planets.
And he wants Rick to help him, but then they just
obviously Rick's getting sidetracked, so he gets.
They say get Jerry to do it. He's got low self-esteem. Just get him to help.
Yeah, so they do, but they manage to actually go away to another planet.
Well, they're trying to make like a planetary sort of system, and Jerry's like, okay, well we can put Pluto, and then Morty's like, actually Pluto's not a planet anymore, and he's like, yes it is.
Oh yeah,
Pluto's a planet.
So they get abducted by Plutonians to try and get him to, because he makes out he's a scientist. He's like, I'm a scientist and Pluto is a planet. And he becomes like a fall guy for like this organization.
Yeah. Who know that Pluto's not a planet, but he's just like...
They're trying to drain its resources.
The next episode after that is probably the best one in the series.
Do you think?
Yeah, for me. It's weird that this is kind of like not how it ended. Is this the second to last episode? It's basically... It explains that the universe is like way bigger than you think. Like many, like hundreds, like thousands of different Ricks from different alternate realities accumulated together and made a society of Ricks, because they're the smartest person in the universe, so they made their own kingdom.
Yeah.
And there's so many different versions of Rick, not just Rick as a human, but there's like if humans evolved in a different way.
Yeah, like Lizard
Ricks and Cowboy Ricks, and like Rick and Morty if they were the other way around, so Morty's the growing up and the scientist and Rick is the little kid. And this is weird actually, that they did say that they considered doing an episode where in an alternate reality incest wasn't abhorrent, and there was an episode where Rick and Morty were in a loving relationship together, and that's fucking creepy. That,
imagine that. No, let's not go there.
I hope not. I mean, he said, "Oh yeah, I'm not open to that idea" on a comment on Twitter, but I don't know whether that was a joke. You can never tell.
You can never tell with because he just constantly takes a piss. But so they've got this whole society of Ricks, 1,000 upon 1,000, established that Morty is of so low intelligence that it cancels out Rick's high intelligence.
Yeah, you say everyone's after him, that he has this radiation of intelligence. Rick does, so they always have their own little Morty by their
so
side.
Morty gets pissed off at the whole of it, and he's like, "I have more than just a shield for you," and all that. Because eventually they get kidnapped by the Ricks, because obviously there's a Rick going around killing other Ricks.
Yeah. There's a rogue Rick that's murdering all the a lot of the other Ricks, and they all think it's our Rick. They think it's the main Rick, because he's like the second to last worst Rick there is.
Yeah, but he's also like, we don't establish governments, we destroy them and all that. And he's like, you create your own government. So as it's going along, it turns out that Rick is being set up as well, which
by an evil Rick.
Yeah, by an evil Rick. with an eye patch. Yeah. It's not a Rick, it's a Morty.
It's a robot Rick being controlled by an evil Morty.
Yeah, I love evil Morty. He's probably one of the best characters in it.
Well, he's not had much. He has a second appearance later on
in season 3.
In season 3, he comes back into it, but we don't really know that much about him at the moment.
All we know is that he's evil.
He's living in what amounts to like a Death Star. He has like a giant. They've been stealing the Mortys as well. He makes a giant force field of Mortys,
and they're all like,
and they're all being stabbed and stuff to sort of accentuate the power of the force field that they create.
So they can't find it. It's so.
It's funny because the Rick that we know, he was just like, I considered doing this, and like Morty looks at him, he's just like, in theory, I'd never do it.
Wouldn't actually do it. Rick thought about doing it. Like, let's be honest.
He definitely considered it.
But no, this Morty, he's as smart as Rick. It's not stated, but implied that he killed his Rick.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't think they actually say it, but
because I think in this universe, because you know how there's like a doofus Rick.
Yeah, dipshit Rick.
Yeah.
Imagine if that's what it was. Imagine he is his Rick.
Maybe. I was going to say there's got to be a Rick that is like retard Rick, like Rick and Morty fan Rick. And
well, there is. He's in season 1, episode 10.
But no, I reckon it's the other way around, where there's a Morty, like this Morty who's really smart and evil, and then there's a Rick who's basically like, well, Morty.
What, really like dumb and good, or what?
Obviously, that's all theory, and that's just my own theory. Close Rick Counters of the Rick Kind, probably the best episode of this season.
Then we're on to the final episode. Now, it's weird. I didn't think we're actually going to go through this episode by episode, but there's only 10 episodes as opposed to a season like Death Note that's got 37.
Yeah, I think for most TV shows, we're just going to be talking about the season as a whole. And maybe
generally, but each episode has a specific separate plot.
Yeah, so...
And, they're quite easy to go through. So Rick, fuck me, I couldn't even say it. Rick's ski business? Rick's ski
business.
Anyway.
God, they don't make that easy.
No.
Fucking Rick and Morty fans, I'm telling you.
Like I said, there's always two things going on. So Beth and Jerry go on a fake Titanic cruise, which is basically like the Harry Potter experience, but for Titanic fans. Where they like recreate the scene. So it's like they go on a cruise and it purposefully crashes, and fans of Titanic can recreate it. It's quite funny because it's something you could believe could be done in real life.
It probably is, to be fair. Yeah. I mean, if it's not, maybe I do.
But Beth is just not interested.
Well, he said, he spent some alone time with
this Mexican cleaning lady.
Yeah, and she properly rapes him.
She tries to rape him.
And he's like, I see people going into that car and having sex, and I need to clean up afterwards. Well, this time it's my turn to have sex. And it's
just like, you're going to take off your clothes and fuck me.
And it's like, I don't know how he gets out of that though.
Oh no, Beth comes along, knocks her out.
Oh, sweet, okay.
Yeah, but the main story is obviously the Rick and Morty part of the story.
So what's going on is,
while they're away,
Rick's like, let's have a party.
Yeah, and it's funny because they're just like, don't have a party, and the person who has the party is like the one who's supposed to be in charge.
The adult.
Not just Morty, the adult, the old man. He has a juvenile party.
Morty doesn't want this. Morty's like, we need to keep the place clean and all that crap. Like, he's so petrified that something's going to happen.
And it does.
And it does. Rick basically fucks up the entire house.
He's just like, I'm just inviting a couple of friends. And then he invites all his friends from all over the universe.
Every
single alien
30,
species.
50 people.
And then we get introduced to one of my favourite characters, Bird Person.
I
am Bird Person. So Bird Person, and then Squanchy,
Gearhead.
You
know, the ones with all the...
Yeah. And Abradolf Linkler.
Oh, that is brilliant.
He wanted to create an ethically diverse super leader or something like that.
Yeah, he likes a combination of obviously Hitler and Lincoln. They make a massive mess and somehow manage to get the entire house teleported to another universe.
Oh, so Morty's in the basement and he hears noises coming from the closet. He opens it and Squanchy's in there, fucking asphyxie wanking. He's joking himself and jerking off. He's like, I'm squanching in here. And he stumbles back and knocks his thing over, and that sort of warps the house into somewhere.
Eventually, Morty's like, right, everybody out. He chucks everyone out. But first, Rick's like, you need to go here and get these...
I don't know, some plant some crystals.
Crystals, yeah. So he goes out and he goes with the Abraham Hitler...
Abradolf
Linkler. I never even remember that. And Summer, I think.
He goes, this is what we need to get home.
It's just drugs. It's just drugs.
He crushes up the crystals and snorts them.
Yeah. And then he could have fixed it all along.
Yeah, he's just like, oh no, I didn't need him for that. We can go back any time.
Yeah. So Morty throws a hissy fit and throws everyone out, but the house is still trashed.
Jerry and Beth get home and it's a shithole.
Yeah, and
just as they march up to the house, this unestablished device that
Rick
has, it just freezes time
for a year.
So he pauses it, and that's the end of it. Well, when we get to season 2, it basically starts off exactly where this
where
ends.
they're just finishing off cleaning the house after a year. The Rick and Morty fans for this season were good. It's season 3.
There weren't really many Rick and Morty fans when this came out because it was a brand new show.
The Rick and Morty fans are there's two types of them. Those are just
casual viewers.
Casual viewers that just like us.
Yeah.
And then there's
there's a giant, spurgy, embarrassing to be around people that think it's actually cool to shout wubba lubba dub dub. We'll talk more about it in season 3, but there was some stuff that's actually happened in real life with fans who went mental at a McDonald's with, McNugget sauce. And that's when I started to go, is that really the kind of... do you know what I mean? This show is genuinely quite clever and funny.
Well, that's the thing.
And these are the retards watching it.
It's the first 2 seasons at least were actually really clever jokes.
Yeah.
It's why it's got the whole Rick and Morty is only for clever people. It's nice. It's for everyone.
No, Rick and Morty, I think it attracted pseudo-intellectuals who are enlightened by their own intelligence. Watching a show might make you think and make you feel more intelligent while you're watching it, but you're just as much of a dipshit as everyone else.